That's what we need to do, is help Adam.
5, like it's nothing.
The final round will be on Monday.
It was 16 years ago.
He's fucking pathetic. That is the kind of brutal feeling behind Stewart Cink's warning about modern golf. It sounds harsh, it sounds unfair, but that is the raw heat behind this whole story. And before we go any further, let me be clear about one thing. The golfers in this video are not small names, they are stars. They have won big events, they have changed the sport. They have given fans huge moments. Bryson DeChambeau, Dustin Johnson, Sergio Garcia, Poulter, Lee Westwood, and Graeme McDowell are all special players. Nobody can take that away from them. But Stewart Cink's point is not that they cannot play. His point is harder than that. He thinks modern golf may have made great players soft. And if this kind of old-school golf fire is why you clicked, give the video some hype, because this story only gets sharper from here. Let me tell you who Stewart Cink is first. He is not a man who talks just to talk. He turned pro in 1995. He won 8 events on the PGA Tour. And in 2009, he won the Open Championship. That is one of the biggest prizes in all of golf. So this is a man who has done it. He has lived it. Cink also played across 3 very different times in golf. He played in the self-reliant 1990s. He played in the big money 2000s. And he is still around in the data-driven 2020s. He has seen the game change right in front of his eyes. That gives him the right to compare the old days with today. Very few players can say that. So when Cink speaks, people listen, and what he says is not soft at all. He looks at the modern game, and he is not always happy with what he sees. He sees more money. He sees more help. He sees more comfort. But he is not sure he sees more toughness. Here's where it starts. Cink hears modern players complain. They talk about burnout. They talk about being tired. They talk about how hard the travel is. They talk about how rough the schedule feels. And Cink is not buying it. Why? Because the numbers do not back it up. Modern top players often play around 18 to 25 events a year. Older top players often played 26 to 32 events a year. That is a big gap. The old guys played more. They traveled more. They had less help. And they did not cry about it. So Cink looks at this and shakes his head. The modern player has more money, he has more support, he has more comfort, he plays fewer events, and yet he complains more. That does not add up. That is the heart of the problem for Cink. Think about what the old players dealt with. They did not have private jets. They flew on normal planes like everyone else. They booked their own hotels. They drove their own rental cars. They did not have a fancy trailer at every event for therapy. They just played, week after week, and they did not call it torture. Cink lived that life. He played a heavy load during his prime. He did it without all the help that stars have today. So when he hears a young star say 3 weeks in a row is too much, it lands wrong. To him, 3 weeks was nothing. It was just the job. It was just golf. The complaint feels strange to a man who carried a heavier load with far less support. Now let's talk about Bryson DeChambeau. Bryson is one of the most famous power players in the game. He hits the ball miles. He trained his body to be huge. He chased speed like nobody else. He is fun to watch. He is bold. And he is very, very good. But to Cink's eyes, Bryson is also a symbol. He is the face of the new kind of golf. This is golf built on power, on data, and on perfect numbers. Bryson uses launch monitors, he studies the angles, he chases max force. He treats his swing like a science project. Let me be clear here. This is not about saying Bryson is weak. He is not weak. He is one of the strongest men in the sport. This is about what he represents. He stands for a game built on machines, numbers, and control. And Cink wonders if that kind of golf can also make a player too dependent on the data. When the numbers are perfect, the modern player looks superhuman. But what happens when the numbers are off? This is the trade-off. Bryson and players like him can do amazing things. They can hit the ball further than any group in history. They can dial in every detail. They can train their bodies like top athletes in any sport. That is real. That is impressive. Golf has never seen anything like it, but the same system has a risk. When a player builds his whole game on numbers, he can lose touch with feel. He can lose the gift of just seeing a shot and hitting it. The old players played by instinct. They trusted their eyes and their hands. The new players trust the screen, and a screen can lie to you. It can put doubt in your head. It can make a great player freeze. That brings us to the next problem, the entourage. The modern golfer almost never travels alone. He brings a whole team. There's a swing coach. There is a pudding coach, there is a physio, there is a sports psychologist, there is a nutritionist, there is even a biomechanist who studies how the body moves. Now think about Cink's era. Back then, it was simple. It was the player and the caddy. Maybe a swing coach now and then? That was it. The player had to figure things out on his own. He had to fix his own game on the range. So here is Cink's worry. When a modern player struggles, what does he do? He runs to his team. He asks the coaches, he asks the experts. He may have lost the skill to solve the problem alone. And golf, at its core, is a lonely sport. If a player cannot fix himself out there, he is in trouble. The big team can become a crutch. Picture it on the course. There is no coach allowed during the round. There is no expert standing next to the player on the back nine. It is just him. It is just his caddy. Pressure is rising. The shot is hard. And he has to find the answer in his own head. That is the moment that shows who a player really is. Cink fears that some modern stars are not ready for that moment. They have leaned on others for so long that they struggle when they are truly alone. The old players were built for being alone. They had no choice. They learned to trust themselves because there was no one else to trust. That self-reliance was a hidden strength, and Cink thinks it may be fading away. Next comes the golf course itself. Modern players are used to perfect conditions. They expect smooth greens. They expect clean fairways. They expect setups that are fair and easy to read. They want everything just right. But old school golf was not like that. The old players had to adapt. They faced hard wind. They faced bad bounces. They faced ugly lies in the rough. They faced slow greens and rough ground. They dealt with discomfort and they did not whine about it. They saw it as part of the test. Cink's point is sharp here. When modern players face a tough course, they often act like something went wrong. They treat hard conditions like a mistake by the staff. But to the old players, hard conditions were the whole point. Championship golf was supposed to be uncomfortable. Beating the course and the weather was the badge of honor. That is what made a champion. Cink knows this better than most. He won the Open Championship in 2009. The Open is played on links land by the sea. The wind howls, the bounces are wild. The weather can turn ugly in a flash. There is nothing perfect about it. You cannot control it. You can only deal with it. That is the kind of golf that made Cink tough. He had to accept bad luck. He had to take a cruel bounce and move on. He had to keep his head when the course tried to break him. So when modern players moan about a slow green or a bad lie, Cink hears something soft. He hears a player who never learned to suffer well. Now we move into money. And this is where it gets even bigger. This is where LIV golf comes in. LIV changed everything. It brought huge contracts, it brought guaranteed money, it brought events with no cut. It changed the math of the whole sport. Look at Dustin Johnson. He is a world-class talent. He has won majors, he has been #1 in the world. He is the kind of player who can do anything on a course, but he also moved into the LIV world. He moved into a place built around money and security. Here's the key idea. In the old days, money was tied to how you played that week. Missed the cut, make no money. Finish low, lose status. You had to perform just to pay for your travel. That pressure was real. That pressure made players tough. But LIV broke that link. Now a star can earn massive money up front. He can lock in wealth fast. The old fear is gone. And Cink wonders what that does to a player's hunger. When you no longer need to suffer to survive, do you still grind the same way? Dustin Johnson is a perfect example to think about. Not because he is a bad man. He is not. He is a great champion. But his move shows the new world clearly. A player of his level can step into a place where the money is set and the cut line is gone. The danger of a bad week is much smaller. The safety net is huge for Cink. That safety net changes a man. The hunger that comes from real risk starts to fade. When you must perform to eat, you fight hard. When you are already rich for life, the fire can cool. Cink is not saying these men stop trying. He is saying the deep, desperate edge of the old days may be gone. And that edge made the old champions who they were. This leads us to the Ryder Cup names. Sergio Garcia, Ian Poulter, Lee Westwood, Graeme McDowell. These 4 men were Ryder Cup heroes. They were legends in that event. They played with fire, they played with passion, they gave fans some of the most emotional moments in golf. Sergio Garcia loved the Ryder Cup. He played with pure heart. Ian Poulter was almost unbeatable in it. Fans gave him a nickname for his Ryder Cup magic. Lee Westwood was a steady rock for Europe for years. Graeme McDowell stood tall in big moments too. These men carried the team on their backs. So here's the hard question Cink's words point to. If the Ryder Cup passion was so deep, so pure, so sacred, then what does it mean when these same men leave for LIV money? Was the passion really about the badge? Or was it easier to walk away once the money changed the game? Now let me be fair. This is not about saying these men never cared. They cared a lot. Nobody can fake the moments they gave us. But Cink's point still stings. It makes you think. It makes you ask what really drives a player. Is it love of the fight? Or is it comfort and cash? When money got big enough, some of the old loyalties got complicated, and that is exactly what Cink is warning about. This brings us to the loss of hunger, and this may be the deepest point of all. The old golf model was brutal. You missed cuts and lost money. You played badly and risked your card. You could lose your whole career if you went cold. That fear lived in every round. It made men tough. It forged real grit. The modern model is softer. There are huge purses. There are no-cut events. There is guaranteed money. There are big bonuses just for being a star. A player can become rich very fast. The old fear is mostly gone. Now here's the careful part. This does not mean modern players do not want to win. They do. They still chase trophies. They still dream big. But wanting to win and needing to survive are two different things. The old player had to suffer just to stay in the game. The modern player can still want glory without ever feeling that deep fear. And Cink thinks that fear is part of what made champions strong. Now let's talk about the mental side. This is the most sensitive part, so let's be careful and fair. Mental health matters. It is real. It is serious. The fact that players can talk about it now is a good thing. That is real progress. We should never mock it. But Cink's point is more narrow than that. He is not attacking real mental health struggles. He is asking a harder question. Are some players using the language of fatigue as a shield? Are some using burnout as an excuse to dodge pressure or poor form? In the old days, players had to grind through bad slumps. They had to find their game under the gun. They had to accept that golf is a game of ups and downs. But now, some players seem quick to step away when results dip. They take long breaks. They pull out of events. And Cink wonders if that is real fatigue or just a way to avoid the heat of the moment. Think about how hard this is to judge. From the outside, you cannot always tell. Real burnout looks a lot like an excuse, and a real excuse can hide behind real words. Cink is not the judge of anyone's heart. He cannot see inside a player's mind, but he can see a pattern, and the pattern worries him. Players step back more now. They protect themselves more now. They guard their comfort more now. The old way was to play through the pain. You teed it up even when you felt low. You fought your way back into form on the course, not on the couch. That grind was hard, but it built something strong inside a player. Cink fears that the new way, with all its breaks and guards, may not build that same strength. There is one more piece to this: technology. Launch monitors like TrackMan changed the swing forever. They turned the golf swing into a set of data points. They gave players amazing precision, but they may have cost something too. When a player leans on the data too much, he can lose feel. He can lose instinct. And when the numbers do not match what he wants, his head can get blocked. He stops trusting his hands. He stops trusting his gut. The very tools meant to help him can freeze him up. That is part of the modern weakness Cink is talking about. So put it all together. More money, more coaches, more comfort, more data. Fewer events, and yet more complaints. That is the picture Cink paints. He sees a generation of amazing athletes who may have lost some of the grit that built the game. Now let me end the way we started, with fairness. These 6 men are not frauds. Bryson DeChambeau pushed the limits of power. Dustin Johnson reached the very top of the sport. Sergio Garcia, Poulter, Lee Westwood, and Graeme McDowell gave us Ryder Cup memories that fans will never forget. They are talented, they are important. They helped grow golf into what it is today. But Cink's warning still matters, because talent is not the same as toughness. Modern golf has more money than ever. It has more data than ever. It has more comfort and more support than ever. That is real progress. Nobody should pretend it is all bad. Yet if players lose their hunger, their toughness, and their ability to stand alone, then the game loses something that made it great. Golf was always about the lonely battle. It was about the man, the course, the wind, and his own mind. Take that fight away, and you take away part of the soul of the sport. That part is worth protecting at all costs. So maybe Stewart Cink sounds harsh, maybe he sounds bitter, Maybe he sounds like an old pro who misses his own time, but maybe, just maybe, he is right. And that is the part that should make every single golf fan stop and think hard.